Welcome to another episode of Solutions with Soul. Man, you guys are in for a treat. Got another wonderful guest for us here. Is Dr. Ray. He's a relationship doctor, a relationship specialist. Just in general, if you guys want to read some incredible stuff when I put his socials up, you guys are in for a treat. He's not afraid to speak what needs to be spoken from the heart. And he has a way of holding a container for people so that they can take things, the medicine that they need to take, and be able to digest it in a way that's nurturing and opens up the possibility for growth and expansion.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's interesting how you said that because I was thinking, because what you're kind of talking about is more psychological. It's challenging someone's belief. However, and they can't handle it yet, they'll buy something off the shelf that tastes like shit.
Yes.
Oh, this is going to be good for me. I'm like, just because someone else told me so. And then they experience a different perspective. Like, no, I don't know if I can receive that. Fight or flight, run.
Yes. Instead of maybe waiting for it to kick in. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's really what I appreciate about you when and we've been in the same community, kind of running around each other, which is wild. And then really it was the women in our lives that are like, hey, you guys should connect up.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
I met you at the apothecary.
Yep.
First time.
Yep.
It is funny. I don't know if you picked up on this. I mean, I was open. I said hello, but I found myself being in a small town with homogenous thinking that I'm wondering, where is a person? I mean, because everyone kind of has a smile. Everyone's kind of like, but the moment you say something a little bit different, you see eyebrows pop up.
To see what's going on.
But I did feel your soul. I felt your heart.
Yeah.
And when someone could be real with me and not afraid, not pull back, then I feel comfortable to lean in. So I really appreciate this, brother.
That's cool. And I'm glad that you're here to share your stuff with people. With this whole show, because of where I came through in life and struggling and trying to figure out who I was and be solid as a human being, as a man, I just am so happy that I finally started really paying attention to what your Facebook and all the stuff that you're putting on and saw how solid of a person you are. And I'd love to if you wouldn't mind giving them a little history of who you are and how you came to be and some of the most highlighted points that could maybe encourage and empower people to, be the best person they can be.
Well, given that you talked about your struggles, I will connect to that. Yeah. I mean, have you shared everything?
With everybody?
Well, like on these shows, have you talked about what you used to do to?
Now they're like, now they know. And I don't have a problem doing that. I guess I haven't had a show just by myself yet, but I don't have a problem sharing it. I mean, if you,
I'm open. I was just curious.
I have no problem sharing. In fact, I feel that it's better to share the raw with people because then they really understand where you came from and they have an opportunity to realize that they can do something different too.
Yeah. Well, so I have been. I'll throw it out there. I have been arrested 9 times.
Yeah.
You probably wouldn't even know that. So that was from stealing suntan lotion from Kmart. I guess I really wanted a tan.
I know.
Who steals suntan lotion? And I had no shirt on. I had OP shorts. I put it in my pants and was trying to run away from security. But anyway, 3 other were from driving under the influence.
Yeah.
Grand Theft Auto. Yeah, I mean, so I've definitely, but was interested in throughout all of that. I was raised by a very strong masculine male. My father had never failed me. He was in Marines for 30 years, fought in World War II, the Korean War, 3 tours in Vietnam, and a solid man. So even though I dabbled from drugs to getting in trouble, I always would show up no matter what. I was somewhat forced to be accountable and take responsibility and move forward. So a lot of my friends I grew up with, that I remember going to my 20-year high school reunion, and one of my buddies I was hanging out with had to get a liver transplant already because drinking so much.
Dang.
And even at that reunion, he was still drinking.
That's so wild.
He was just yellow. He was like, had jaundice.
Wow.
So it's like, I did, but still in all of that, I still saw it as recreational. I made poor choices.
Yeah.
Also, I had 2 near-death experiences. The first one, I fell 3 stories. and had that typical like light review quickly. And I fell off some scaffolds really high up in a building. And then the second one was I was 16 and I overdosed on PCP.
Wow.
So the parts of me you didn't know.
Wow.
Yeah. And I still remember that used to really choke me up because my father found me. And when I did go to the hospital, he came from a completely different generation. He was born in 1925. So he didn't even dabble in that stuff. Only people I mean, this would be a statement that's not 100% true, but those who typically dabbled with that were like maybe more musicians. It was just a different culture, a different world that he wasn't involved with. So imagine it'd be one thing me smoking weed, but to find out I'm smoking PCP.
That's wild. I haven't even tried that.
Yeah, so don't. Anyway, so, but I remember him just putting his hand like, on my chest and just saying, do you need help, son? Do you need help? Not, reprimanding me. And I said, no. And I never did it again after that. But going through that whole life experience and getting into trouble at the root of that, like many men, is that I wanted to get the attractive woman. I wanted to get respect. I wanted men to respect me. I just wanted to have this social currency, like a lot of us, It's like, and at the end of the day, what would that lead to? And it's particularly happiness, to be seen, to feel valued, which is something you don't need, like to track things onto you. But I went through that hard journey, and then it really began when I was 21, working for like this corporate job. And I remember seeing these men who I thought were older in their late 20s and 30s talking about their weekends. And I was also a musician, playing in different nightclubs. And I remember just hearing them talk and just thinking, God, this is so uneventful. I don't want to be like
talking about.
Well, just like they look really old for their age, like to me.
Stress and
and then I left that world, and this is going to throw you off as well. And I think it's even in my book. I don't know. It's funny. I wrote the book and I became a bestseller, but I have forgotten some of the things I left in there.
That's wild.
But
lived a lot of lives.
When I was 21, 22, I went to Cancun and I stripped in a cage.
Oh,
and I won
wow.
$200. And I thought, I can make money off of this. So that job, her name was Barbara. I don't remember her last name, but she liked me a lot. She saw my potential. She said, don't get stuck here. I did because I had a baby. I was 19 years old. I had to do this. She said, you have a lot of talent. I want you to get out there. So she laid me off so I would collect a little bit of money at first. I became a stripper, dude.
That's what's up.
No, most men cannot say that. My son hears that too. I'm like, he's seen some like movies where there's some guy,
dancing like Magic Mike.
That's not a dude movie. So I'm not sorry. Nothing against it, but
no, I know. I haven't seen Magic Mike. I've never watched it, but
well, you probably don't have a reason to. But we've seen other movies where that's happening, and there's jokes from my female friends too. Like even he knows that his grandmother actually my mother was this 4'11" mother from Okinawa. And she made my tearaway pants.
Really?
Like for my strip. Really? She was very
so supportive.
Yeah, very open-minded. Well, she saw me as an artist. She didn't see her little son bouncing with his, his hammock, his banana hammock. But that was
be the best you can be.
I don't know about that. So anyway. But there was a plan. The plan was to get in that business to fund my recording studio and become a recording artist.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's
amazing.
So that's what I did.
Goals.
Yeah, so I did that. So it wasn't like I was making money and doing a bunch of blow, and I did that too, but not for that reason.
That was just there, right?
Well, that was more in my the 80s. But anyway, so during a time when I was dancing and I was leaving a party in Huntington Beach. I lived in California.
Yeah.
I got pulled over with my buddy Bo. I'm going to show him this video. And, but that was it. And I remember, having to see a drug and alcohol counselor. And that was like when I was 20, I forgot what it was. But anyway, I remember him saying to me, I don't know if you have a drinking problem, but you create a lot of problems when you drink, Ray.
Yeah. Like, that's a good point.
Like, that resonates more.
Yeah.
And then seeing that counselor, it led to therapy.
Yeah.
And on one of my tours, this is in my book, Marcy, who I met, and we dated, and I'm still really close to her daughters.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't talk to them all the time, but I really saw them as my own, and we still communicate. She gave me my first self-help book, You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay.
Oh, that's amazing.
And everything took off from that point. One book.
That one book.
Just that one book where it led to 500 more because I never felt enough. It was I was eating this stuff up. So I also developed IBS, irritable bowel syndrome.
Yeah.
And so many other things. And so from my health to my emotional self to my insecurity, it led me to really dive into this work. Even listening to Abraham Hicks,
I love Abraham Hicks.
mid-90s when it was on cassette tapes, and when she sounded robotic. This is before she sounded like polished. And that just kind of led to me start working with people, and I actually started coaching people, and I started mentoring under a gentleman named Dr. Morris Netherton, who had worked with some really well-known, like Fritz Perls, people who, Carl Rogers, a lot of big names from the 60s. And he even started teaching at the Church on Rose. I think that's what it's called in Venice. It's still there. And he trained Tony Robbins teachers. The last name's Binder and Grinder. And I forgot. I'm saying it. Bandler and Grinder. I think that's it. So I learned from him. I mentor under him. So while I started traveling the world with him, assisting him, and he combined a bunch of modalities together. Then I went back to school, got my master's in doctorate because I didn't think people would respect me. It's funny, even though I was doing good work, I felt like I needed to be called Dr. Ray.
That's amazing.
So that's like the quick, long-winded story. I mean, there's more to it, but that's how I kind of became this. And then there's even just more poor decisions I made we can talk about later.
This is interesting because you had a 2-parent home.
Yes.
And a stable household, and you still were into sex, drugs, and rock and roll. You know what I mean? Like it was like your thing, to kind of explore that part. But I will say, I feel like it's also what helped you become a more rounded person in understanding why people go through what they go through too.
Yes, we have different narratives of what we maybe were attracted to, depending on culture. I definitely became a different person than anyone I grew up with.
Yeah.
By far.
Oh, yeah.
I think a lot of it had to do with first off, my father was older. He was 44.
Yeah.
And my mother was 9 years younger than him, which is interesting. I became a father at 45.
Yeah.
And, but very grounded roots. And, it's like, his father died when he was 2 from emphysema, from gases to, I forget, he was during that time, he was like a rag man where the factories would needed the rags to be clean. That shit went to his lungs. And his mother died when he was 15. But when his father died, my grandfather, my grandmother became like an entrepreneur. I come from a strong lineage of women. And her sister and her, were just badasses, and she was one of the first deputies in the Bronx.
Really? Dang.
Yes,
in the Bronx.
In the Bronx. Oh yeah. And so part of the women's suffrage movement also. So women are able to vote by my family lineage. I've come from strong women. My mother in her 1950s, she thought her husband didn't have balls. I mean, that's not how she said it, but was living with her in-laws, and she had a son, and she actually made the choice to walk away because there was just so much unhappiness. She was ostracized.
That's wild.
Women did not, especially in that culture, walk away from their husbands. And so, both of my parents had really strong fire, both Sagittarius and Sagittarius, and they just raised me with these strong roots. So even though I dabbled with certain things, just having that strong foundation. But people I looked up to was like Indiana Jones. I wanted to be smart. Women liked him. And he was a little bit risky or wild.
Well, a lot risky.
So that might have been like more of my influence. Like I wanted to be like seen as being smart and being charming versus try to attract women through control or manipulation or whatever.
Like they wanted to, they liked you, they were attracted to you instead of.
Well, I mean, like I didn't see Al Pacino in Scarface and go, wow, that seems like a life I want to live, No. So, because, he
didn't end up very well at the end.
No. But one thing I did like, I remember watching The Godfather.
Yeah.
And I remember just seeing how a person could possibly help people if he does have power.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not talking about killing people, but where we can try to help out people. And I was attracted to that power. Yeah. And I did have that idea if I had money, primarily money and the respect from others that would, so strange. I was a romantic, I guess. I don't know if because I'm a Leo, but I just saw myself being with a woman, just kind of being with a woman and being able to live my life.
Yeah. It was important for you.
Yeah, I think it's still important for a lot of people. They just don't know how to really be honest with that.
Yeah, and I think it's the intimate relationships almost. Before I forget, I wanted to go back on when you were saying you came from powerful women, like your mom had this powerful lineage.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because we had a little thing on Facebook with the community we're in Ashland, and they have no idea. They just assume that you're like, oh, we're misogynist or whatever. And I came from my mom was the ruler of my household, so I was taught that women have, they have their own foundation.
Did you respect her?
Oh, I had to.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, I had to.
Did you? Again, so I was talking to, forgot who, I forgot who it was, but we're talking about when they had those protests and there was this teenage boy out there like throwing rocks and vandalizing. His mother saw it on TV, and they showed her calling his name, grabbing him by the ear. She was putting on all these talk shows, and the teenage boy probably could have punched her. He probably could have stood up to his own mom, but no. And I'm not saying that I condone violence, but I'm telling you that like I saw God, it's sad. Pictures of a principal getting his ass kicked.
Oh, by a student and stuff?
Students, yes.
Yeah. That would never happen in my day.
Same here.
We wouldn't even think about it. Like, are you kidding me? Because not only, like one of the schools I went to, not only did we have corporal punishment in the school, but then when you get home, oh man.
You did what?
I was crying on the way home, like whenever I got in trouble,
Well, what's interesting is that there's this idea, because there's some truth in that. There are those who say were hit, or they maybe experienced what they would call abuse. However, there's a big difference between a child being hit and also not feeling love.
Yeah, big difference.
Or not hearing "I love you" to being hit and the parent not modeling what he or she talks.
Yeah,
is being hit and not being explained to what you did wrong.
What's going on.
Yeah. Like if you just had some dad randomly drunk and just hits you because he's just upset for what's going on at work, I could just see the trauma in that. I mean, I work with clients who have gone through that. But I have to tell you this, probably more than half the men I've worked with over the last 28 years who were solid, who made pretty good money, who were good, solid dads, more than probably 60, 70% of them had experienced some type of spanking. They experienced being challenged by their father. They experienced something where they had to go through the rites of passage, and there's firm boundaries. There's none of that where we live.
Not anymore, right?
Oh my God! Well, I don't know if it's there. I don't know if it's ever was here. I can't really say. But I remember going on a kind of play date, and the mother said that, to let you know, my son is really like kind of touchy, or where he's affectionate. And we go into the pool, and her son is grabbing my son physically to where I was pulling him down in the water. And my son kept saying, "Stop, get your hands off me." He wouldn't. And I'm like, She thinks this is physical. This is poor boundaries.
Yeah, super poor.
Yeah. And I go, let go of my son. Please let go of my son. And then it came time for him to go, or he was misbehaving. And he's splashing water on her like he didn't give a shit. And I'm thinking, I already know this. Like, this kid at the time was like 8 years old. He's going to be bigger than his mother.
Bigger. Yeah.
Do you think that that's going to get better?
No, I mean, not at all. There's no boundaries.
Oh my God. And I see this. I see this.
I see it all the time, actually.
Yeah. And it's not me judging the parenting. It's just like, it's unfortunate that they believe that this is the better way, or because being firm hurts the parents' feelings, they can't do it. Yeah. Or they project onto the kid like, oh, saying no means something bad versus no, I love you and I care about you.
Yeah. I feel like there's kind of this narrative about, and it's something my wife and I talk about because she's a lot younger than me, right? So she's a millennial, and it's come to a point where it's like, okay, she understands why I'm solid about my boundaries when it comes to the kids, you know. But for some reason, there's this narrative going on out there that like, oh, if you say no, or because of trauma, or because of all this, then what you're doing is you're impeding the kids' creativity and their expansion. I'm like, no, there are still, I don't care how creative the kid is going to be. If they're going to stomp on my boundaries, whether it's a kid or a grown ass person, I'm not going to let them do that because I have my own boundaries too. They can go do that shit somewhere else. And my kids, I'm not going to let them do that anyway because they need to learn to respect. Because you teach your kids boundaries by setting boundaries, and then they go out into the world and are able to set those boundaries.
Yeah. What you have, if you don't set your own boundaries, the type of children you're going to raise are ones who are people pleasers.
Yeah.
Who attract toxic relationships, stay in those relationships, allow people to abuse them, and so forth. And they don't create the life they want to live.
Yes, exactly.
Bottom line, I'm not going to say their names. I wish I could, but anyway, maybe we'll get comments. But anyway,
we'll get comments right away. I mean, hey,
I am friends with some pretty well-known people in the community. I'm talking about where they know a lot of people. So when I do share my heart, it's never to make people feel bad. And in fact, that's not even my responsibility.
Yeah, you know? No.
So, but I've heard from professionals and, and teachers who've been in the community for 30 years, how they say what the problems are.
Yeah.
And they talk about the really poor boundaries.
Poor.
So many educators say that these days, parents are beyond permissive and they expect the teacher to parent the kids, and it's too late.
It's not their responsibility.
Like, I have never experienced so much meanness and maybe being oblivious to even what they're saying or doing. It's sad to have my son look at me and say, Dad, and like he said that it was actually girls. He said some girls pushed a boy off for no reason and he fell into, like, I don't know, the dirt. He said, I've never seen so many mean kids in my life.
Yeah.
Here in a sweet, supposedly kind community.
Yeah.
But he said this. He says, I don't even know if they know they're being mean.
Oh, that's so wild.
And that's sad. I don't even know if they know right from wrong.
That's crazy.
So there's this idea that, and this is the excuse. These are different excuses, such as boys need to express themselves. Yeah. Yes, but his hands on my son's body. That's a boundary.
That's a boundary.
Or, I heard from a friend that when she lived here 15 years ago, her daughter's older now.
Yeah.
She said that she had her daughter at one of these type of like homeschool pods before.
Yeah.
And the woman's boys were throwing rocks at her daughter and it hit the kid in the head.
That's
and when she expressed herself to the boys, the mother defended the boys and said, how dare you talk to my boys that way after throwing rocks at her daughter. It's that extreme. I can keep going.
I would have snapped. I would have, if my wife came home and told me something like that happened, I would have been to school the next day or to the pod the next day. Like, hey, look, in front of everybody, look, I don't ever want anybody to think that shit's okay.
I know.
And you would have heard me say shit in front of their kids and everything. Yeah. That shit's not okay.
It's funny. It's like shit is not even a bad word to me.
Yeah, I know.
I can imagine. It's not to make fun of that it is so highly. What happens that when you take away people's personal responsibility and accountability, they don't develop emotionally. And I'm talking about the children.
Yeah.
I saw at forgot the place where a lot of kids go to the pool. It's a community pool.
Yeah.
And I remember
Hunter
seeing
Park.
Might be that, something like that. And I remember my son and I were there, and I was with my girlfriend also, and there was a boy who was being raised in a Waldorf style, also in a pod.
Yeah.
And the lifeguard said very calmly, "Please do not hang on to the rope."
Yeah.
And the boy did again. He says, "Excuse me." He goes, "I asked you please to not hang on to the rope."
Yeah.
The kid did it another time and says, "You're going to have to leave the pool if you can't follow the rules." The boy was like 6 years old, started crying like he was hit.
Yeah.
He starts crying and they get him out of the pool. Both the parents surround him like he was devastated by being asked to respect something that, whether it was a safety thing from a lifeguard. And the lifeguard was a kid speaking in a gentle tone.
Yeah,
it's wild. That extreme. So imagine this kid growing up in a girl that doesn't want to date him. Well, first off, he's not going to have the courage to go, "I like you," or whatever. Say no, like experience real life rejection. Or to try to
still be solid in himself.
Or to try on some like sport.
Yeah. And get cut or something.
And get cut. Oh God.
Or be on the bench.
Yeah. You know, this has happened. And at this point, I'm leaving away, and I guess I don't give a shit anymore. I care, but I don't give a shit of the. It's not like it could come back to me in a negative way, but it's truth. My son's. My girlfriend's son has played on different sport teams in Ashland. Oh my God! So, like first off, at the YMCA, they changed the rules such as you can walk 4 steps rather than 2.
Oh, really? In basketball?
Oh yeah, you can't steal from the ball from the other teammate.
That ain't basketball.
I know that. So they go try to play another team. They were killed, and they like destroyed. And when some of the parents are like, this is not real basketball. Why not teach them the right way of basketball? The people at the YMCA said that basically called out the parents as if they know what they were doing. They're doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And so when you do have parents who have the courage to speak up, of course the community supports victimhood to this. And so I witnessed, or at least Nicole reported to me, when even when he went to different like played a different team somewhere else, like Medford, like soccer.
Yeah.
Oh, they got destroyed. And that's kind of like the Ashland bubble. That's like any small town bubble where they go out. Yeah. There's a reality check, and so I understand why a lot of say kids come back or young adults come back.
Oh, because it's safe.
Because it's safe in this narrative. So
that's so wild.
And it's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate of that, because it doesn't build character. It's like, so by you saying that you respected your mother and like,
I had to.
Me too, dude. And so
that's cool though.
Yeah, my mother was 4'11", and I remember. This could be considered. I imagine kids now, they would like call the police on their own kids, on their own parents. But I remember my brother and I were just out of control, and it was an accident. It was an accident. It was a fucking funny story though. And my mother was like trying to put away groceries, and we're running around in the kitchen, and like I have kids, and I get like riled up and stuff like that. And she turned around and hit my brother over the head with a frozen burrito, and he had to get 3 stitches. 3, and it became a funny story. It didn't necessarily hurt my brother. But blood was coming down. My mom's like, "Oh my God.
Yeah, I killed my boy."
Frozen fucking burrito, dude. Imagine her getting arrested. It's on like all over Facebook.
I know.
Like
this
criminal
terrible mother.
Mother. She abused her son with a frozen burrito.
Yeah, they would have made it such a big deal.
Yeah. So.
Oh man.
Here's the thing, because we had firm parents and a mother who abused us with a frozen burrito.
Mm-hmm.
my brother and I were able to move out of the drug scene.
Yeah,
we were able to
so cool.
We were one of, not only ones, but not many of us from that area went to college.
Oh, wow.
So it really was recreational. We were experimenting.
Experimenting. Because you knew who you were from a solid foundation. So it's never like,
I don't know. That's the only thing it's just that my brother too took the right path.
That's good.
That's what I'm talking about. Is like he is a good human being and wants the best for others as well. Yeah. We have our differences and don't really talk, but at the core, I'm proud of him as my brother.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, like I know, like he's someone I don't know if he manages his home money very well.
But
if I had $1 million and said, please take care of this, I know he would.
Yeah,
he would go broke not to spend a dime. That type of integrity.
That's amazing.
So
that's good integrity.
Yeah, my father, I like sharing this stuff, so thank you.
Oh yeah.
Is like my father. I remember being 6 years old and stealing gum or something from 7-Eleven. Yeah. And I'm a little kid. I'm naive. I'm like eating gum and stuff. My dad's like, "Where did you get that? Yeah. You don't have money." And I stole it. And he made me, give money back to the guy who worked at the 7-Eleven. Which is really interesting. Is that when we were selling my parents' house, I stopped by that 7-Eleven for something. I didn't want to share. I think, I got shitty 7-Eleven coffee at the moment. All right, all right. Wasn't a fucking Slurpee, all right? So that same man was just starting to retire. He owned it.
Wow.
I didn't know that. It was like 40 years later. He looked at me. I go, do you remember a father bringing his boy here? He says, yeah. I said, that was me.
Yeah.
Oh, we hugged. It was like full circle.
Amazing.
Yeah, 40 years later.
Super amazing.
And then when I was like 17, I was driving my dad's Isuzu Pup, and I was fucking high and was drinking. Yeah, I fucking used to drive.
I have. Yeah. I got like 4 of those.
And so, anyway, I thought the pole was like plastic orange, and it wasn't. What? And I went to run the truck into it to knock it over. It was concrete, or it was metal filled with concrete, and it lifted up the truck, and we're stuck. And my friend Matt and the girl was Nicole.
Oh my God.
Were like squishing me like this, and we just started laughing like, "Oh, fuck!"
You were done.
We got out. We had a caravan of people, and we unhooked the truck. It came down, but I went home, and I didn't get in trouble. But my dad said, "What happened to the truck?" And I go, "Well, I ran into a pole," and I thought he'd leave it at that. He says, "Well, where's the pole?" He wanted to know because he wanted us to take responsibility. And I went, fuck.
Yeah.
And so I told him where the pole was, and it was actually a wrecking yard. Yeah. And the guy at the front said, "I don't care." The pole was leaning though. He says, my dad says, "Well, I do," and he needs to fix it. Yeah. So we drew money out of my bank account. We went to Ganal Lumber, got concrete, and we reset it. My dad made me fix my problems.
Yeah.
That's
good, and take accountability.
Always take accountability, always.
Yeah, and that's the same. And I think we come from the same era of kind of parents, because when I got into the criminal world, and that's a whole different thing because I'm melanated, I'm adopted, and so I grew up in Fargo, North Dakota. I'm trying to figure out who I am. And you see cops and listen to hip hop, and you know which way you're going, right? So then, but the thing is my parents also taught me to take accountability. So whenever I already knew if I ever got caught for anything that I was going to take accountability. It didn't matter. And everybody else was afraid because they tell on each other, be like, "No, it was him," even though it was the other guy. But I just right away, I'd be like, "Nah, that was me. Yeah, I did it." You know what I mean? I got caught.
When I was laughing is because when I had a conversation with Soul, I was at Miller Paint, and he just said, "If you spent my money on cocaine and on hookers, just let me know and be accountable."
Yeah, that's what I always told people. Like, because you got to communicate, right? Like, I don't care. I feel like if you can't just be honest about what's going on, you know what I mean? We're sitting here trying to do business, and this is selling drugs, and trying to do business, but and shit happens. I've wasted money because, we're under the influence. It's easy for shit, but we can't fix nothing if we don't talk about it.
Isn't that interesting? An accountable drug addict? I mean, not drug addict, accountable drug dealer.
Yeah, always. And you had to be. And honestly, it saved my life. being able to be accountable, I think, saved my life, because I've dealt with some pretty, I mean, I was in the meth world, so I dealt with some pretty questionable individuals, as people would say. Yeah. And when things go bad, I'm the one that calls up like, hey, this bad thing happened, because I care about my life. And I realize that they don't really care. What's $100,000 when they're making billions? You know what I mean? They're making way more money than the amount of money I lost. And what they care about is you being straight up with them about what's going on. And I feel like that's because of where I came from. Yep. Being straight up and just being honorable, even in questionable
activity. It's interesting. It resonates with me because that despite the poor choices I was making, that, for example, when I got arrested for DUI, the cops didn't treat me like an asshole. You got me. It was just like, so that's an example. I remember being a teenager, and I had a different tattoo that was here when I was 15. So you imagine at that time, most people who had tattoos were like in the military or they'd been in prison.
Oh, you're 15 with the tattoo. That's wild.
So, and so here I'm meeting like teenage girls, and I'm meeting their fathers.
Yeah.
And I was always loved by the dad.
Yeah.
Because I'd put my hand out and I would shake
in the eye.
And that's what, I guess that's helped me with my game in some ways, 100%. Because they allowed me to go out with their daughters because they trusted me. And I would never be a dickhead or something like that.
Yeah.
So, and that just even moving, even when I wasn't, before I went back to college, to other positions I got with my career or life, it was because I was straight up. I mean, many of us have seen movies where you see that persistent, employee. He's just trying to climb up the ranks. He's asking questions.
Yeah.
He might even be a little bit cocky. And we've seen those movies, like that hero's journey, and where they all suddenly, Pursuit to Happiness.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got to take those chances no matter what.
Well, the point is that he had enough confidence to lead himself.
Yeah.
He had enough confidence to say, I can do this. And not be a coward and let life beat him up. He kept getting back up. Yeah. So I always had that going for me. Now think about that. I come from that generation, just like my father's mother had to, during the Great Depression, take care of other children still.
Yeah, that's wild.
When her husband died. And so I come from that lineage. So I am a survivor. I'm thriving, but I have it in me. I will never play into victimhood. So you probably hear that come through my message. And so when people go into compassion fatigue and feel sorry for people, and I've had people say I'm privileged to say things about me they don't even know. They have no idea that I maybe had it even tougher.
Yeah, they have no idea.
Yeah, no idea. And so when I'm sharing whether it's video or it's my writing, it's really to come from this place. I'm self-made.
Yeah.
The way I communicate, you should hear how I used to communicate.
Yeah.
When I was 15, 16, 17, I sounded like I was probably a little bit more from the streets.
Yeah.
And how I changed that. Nothing wrong with it.
Eloquent.
A little more. Yeah. It was where I just started listening to books, literally books on tapes to improve my vocabulary.
Yeah.
I studied Abraham Lincoln. I know he read a lot of books also.
Yeah.
I learned that he was a fucking great storyteller.
Yeah.
And so I purposely started informing myself before the internet.
Yeah.
And I've listened to stuff on my fucking Walkman.
Yeah.
I mean, you hear.
What a Walkman is, kids.
And but you hear me swearing. You can tell that I come from I got the grit.
Yeah.
Now it's just polished with a doctorate in clinical psychology, and I've worked with over 6,000 clients. But it's there. I can still. Oh yeah. I can still 100%. Fight. I can still fist fight.
Yeah.
I can still.
You handle your own, right?
Yeah. I guess if I had to, I still, I still have those parts of me, but meaning that I'm not walking around being aggressive, but I do ask for accountability. I do my best to walk my talk.
Yeah.
And I do apologize when I'm wrong. Oh my God, I do.
You got to. Yeah, and I think that's why what attracted me. Look, my time is precious. Yeah. So when I say I read your stuff and listen to I really do, but is precious, and it's just saying like, you speak to me, and I can see you, and I feel what you're talking about, and I think everybody should really, honestly, and it like should really listen, because I really do value my time, and whenever I read his stuff and listen to his stuff, it really helps me in life, and you have the courage to say what you need to say in this atmosphere of cancel culture, where everybody is so hyper vigilant about hurting people's feelings, and that they can't even have their own thoughts or ideas or beliefs on anything if it doesn't fit the pro or whatever the agenda of the day. Does that make sense?
Yeah, two things. One is that what's interesting is that how I communicate and how I live my life, whether you're left or right or in the middle or just fucking confused, what I teach, these principles do work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you work with, as an example, with a good therapist, you're not going to get into your political agenda for the most part. In fact, if you start talking about it, if it's a good therapist, you're going to say, but how do you feel? What's going on in you? So we're all humans and part of this kind of chaotic experience right now. However, if I'm put into some box because I don't commiserate with the typical out there, or I challenge the status quo, then I'm put in some box as if I'm a misogynist, or I am some conspiracist, or I support something that I don't. You know what I mean?
It's either you're here, if you're not here, then you're there. Like that's the logic in it.
So, but I just want to tell you this, dude. Like sincerely. Like, first off, this has been the first time I've had a conversation with someone like doing this since 2019. So I'm feeling grateful for it. I've been doing most stuff via Zoom, but so I felt excitement in that because I felt the excitement in your soul, and so there's that. But I have to let you know that when living here for 3 years and 4 months has been an absolute mind fuck. I've really have grown to my best ability, and what's interesting is I've got the higher learnings closer to as I almost exit. I mean, I'm going to be out of here by June 18th. And that is, I moved purposely to a very yin, feminine area to soften my edges, to see another perspective, to also be able to receive help and support from more people, to appreciate and receive you more as well. But the big thing is how the gift you give me is that there was a point where I felt irrelevant, insignificant because the thing is that I feel like particularly when it comes to coaching, I'm fast. I mean, like I'm pretty experienced at it, and I'll own that. I don't have all the answers. I've attracted, like I've had this winning streak, if you call the winning streak, of making money, attracting a good partner, being able to buy a couple homes, so imagine you see people out there who are asking the questions, and yet when you share the answer, it hurts their feelings, or they want to give you their opinion how that made them feel, to where everyone is now an expert online. And there's a point like, why should I say anything? And I know this happened to people I even been on the same stage with, like Bruce Lipton. I've been on the same stage with him.
That's amazing.
And in 2020, he was censored. And so I'm thinking, you have no idea how heart-centered this guy is. He's a cell biologist. I mean, this guy is like the coolest fucking cat.
I've listened to him so many times.
Oh yeah, Lipton, I love him. I just like wish he was like my professor full time, And I'm like, you have no idea what you're talking about, not him. So, and I had Dr. Michael Galaxer, who wrote a book with Suzanne Summers, was in his early 70s, like really robust immune system, really healthy. And he was treating people who had COVID, and he was healing them. It was healing. And he got a letter from the government to shut that shit down. I mean, there's people here in Ashland. I know these people too. And it's unfortunate. And so I started speaking about that in 2020, and
they were shutting you down quick.
Oh, big time. And it was actual, like, experience. I was there, and so everything I share was to just help. Before all of this, it was like this. I remember sharing a story with my girlfriend Nicole, and I said, I feel like I'm like the older brother in Napoleon Dynamite who keeps showing the reruns of him throwing a football back in the 80s. I'm like, God, I gotta change it. I gotta change that story. But it's that I said prior to the Me Too movement, prior to this, like I used to lead women's groups where I had a group of strong women of like 950 women in Los Angeles because they trusted me. And then I started seeing things shift. And for sure after Bill Cosby, it
was over after that.
So, but it's as I get older, I want to be able to mentor. I want to be able to teach this stuff. And so when you receive me, it's good because again, there was a time where people would take up notepads and they would just say, speak, and they'd write down stuff. People would quote me. And not that gave me a sense of self, like meaning like that's who I am. And I need that attention. It was more that it still was this exchange of beautiful energy. And what I received from that was light. And then that was something I had to heal while I'm here. And that is not being attached how I'm received or how I'm seen.
That's the different part now. Because the world's a little different now.
Yes. So instead of paying attention to those who are trolls, who think they're expert on everything or want to censor me, I really value as a brother. I really value as a human being to see that. And what you see in me is what you see in yourself.
Yeah, it is amazing. And I think, a couple things in when you said that when you're doing your work and you see that people receive you, I think there is this thing even about, have you ever heard of The Way of the Superior Man by David Data? And how you feel, you want to project as a man who you are into the world and see the effect that it has. And you like the whole that it's being beneficial to other people and helping people grow and expand. And then I don't know what happened. I mean, I kind of do if I want to take the time to start showing all the oh God, do I dare say this? I mean, look, there's obviously some agendas going on, and some of it is the feminist movement is great in some respects, but there's also everything has a polarity where there's also the negative aspects of things. Just like even in anything, there's a negative. And I feel like, yes, are there men out there that are terrible to women? Yes. But that doesn't negate that there's men like us who aren't terrible to women. And and because we express our opinions doesn't mean that. And you had 900 women who trusted you, who trusted you and wanted you to lead them and help them become strong women. And to me, that's amazing, especially with what the narrative has been for so long, where men, especially men with skin like lighter than mine, it's like the hardest thing to be right now. Right?
It's funny. I mean, to this extent, I remember this, and I remember doing this at this community home, and there was about 30 women there, and I was teaching. I trained with Montauk Chia, and I can't believe I was able to do this, but it wasn't sexual. I was teaching women how to energize their body, and where there was like this kind of breast massage thing you were to do. And of course, I'm a man. I don't have breasts like a woman, but I was kind of showing it over my shirt type of thing. And these women were receptive. This is like 2008. 2008. But I do remember one of my friends saying, like, why are you teaching this stuff? You're not a woman. I said, because at the time, there was not a lot of female coaches.
Teaching.
Unlike OG, I think at the time, there was primarily men doing this, but that's how open they were to me. They felt comfortable in me teaching that. So I get this stuff I learned from Montauk Chi, and I was just passing on his wisdom. And I cared. I really cared. And about you talked about, and here's the thing, because we talked about permissive parenting or not holding men accountable. What's really interesting about that is that a lot of these men who will continue to treat women like shit are these boys who are not taught boundaries.
Yes, 100%.
Because if they disrespect their mother, are they going to respect their girlfriends or their wives?
Yeah.
You know,
that's the thing. Even with my kids, when they don't listen and they just, they push my wife more than me because I'm pretty solid. Right, I'm stepping in like, hey. Don't treat your mom like that.
Dude, I really, I appreciate that. And the thing is, and the thing is that this is what I heard from educators here. Yeah. If I get a bunch of back end messages of passive aggressiveness, just know I'll delete you right away. But they've said there's a lot of traumatized single women here. Yeah. A lot. And what they do is they project what their experience was with their father or husbands or boyfriend who didn't show up onto their boys. Yeah. And what they end up creating is the same monster. Yeah. And I've seen it. Yeah. I have seen it. And so, same thing. I have had my son and my girlfriend's boy do or say certain things sometimes. Yeah. And I will stop them right there. I said, hey. And even when she's went out of her way to 2 weeks ago, I guess it was like Easter, she went out of her way to boil the eggs to get the paint. Yeah. And says, what do you say to Nicole? I go, she went out of her way to do this. Yeah. And there's a lot of kids here who, oh my God, they can't do anything. They barely tie their shoes because they have parents who do everything for them.
Helicopter.
I wouldn't even say helicopter. They don't do anything. Yeah. They clean up everything. Yeah. I'm not going to say who they are, but they live close to me because in case this video goes by, but they have daughters, 3 daughters, and not once I've ever seen them help their parents clean the yard and things that they do. Wow. And they're teenagers. And do you think they're going to do that when they get their own apartments? No. If they do, or go to college? No. Yeah. So, and so I see that there's because think about this for a moment. If you're a kid and your clothes is just randomly washed all the time, you're going to think someone's going to do that when you're a teenager or a young adult. Yeah. And I've seen
the magic basket make it disappear.
Yeah. And I've seen strong women here who are like teenagers or teenage women like 19, 20 who have boyfriends who are like, this is what they're used to. Yeah, they're used to their mom doing everything. So they attract a girlfriend just like that. Yeah. And so it just kind of creates this pattern. And so a lot of kids don't realize how hard a parent has to work and what they have to do.
100%. No value. They don't value how everything appears.
So I will tell them, I said, you say thank you to Nicole. She went out of her way. Yeah. She didn't randomly, this is she could be doing a lot of other things. Yeah.
She chose to do something to make you happy.
Yeah, yeah. This is, I'm sure, I don't know how people, I don't give a shit what people think. I just need to step up. Yeah, so when I first moved here, and it was one of the coldest winters, and it was, snow outside and whatever. And my son is solid. I mean, he really is a confident boy. I trust him with everything. Seriously, he's but there's something he did, and he never did that again. Yeah. And that was, there was a cup up on the table. Yeah. And I said, could you please take that up to the kitchen? He says, it's not my cup. And I grabbed him, and he was in his boxers. And I opened up the door, and I said, it's my house. I closed the door. And I let him be in a cold for about a minute and a half. Yeah. Oh my God, you're abusive. Okay?
Let's go back to the 80s.
And I opened up the door. Yeah. He came in there. He never did it again. Did I use him? No. I taught him a lesson. And I said this. I go, this is our house. Did you buy it? No. I go, could I tell you that it's my, you need to pay for the air conditioning or the heater? Yeah. I go, I can do the same thing. Yeah. And it became a point of we coexist together. We're here together. You need to be on my team. Yeah. I clean up your stuff. Yeah. You help me out also. Yeah. So I can leave my house for a couple hours. I could do whatever. He takes care of everything. Yeah, he does things. He's to the extent where he'll hand you your jacket. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's the opposite of what I hear with a lot of parents in this area, or maybe parents in general. Kids will, and if you show them how to do it and you're consistent with that, they will show up. My son shows up. Always shows up. He's not, I don't care. I'm going to say it. He's going to turn 11 this July, and I will be teaching him how to drive.
That's what's up.
Already. Yeah. No, we'll not be on the freeway. We'll not be around any people out there.
Don't worry about it. But.
Yeah. Someone's going to try to arrest me now, but I learned how to drive, a car when I was 11. My dad did also.
My dad was 6. So come on.
Yeah. So the point is that I do little things, like even when my son was 3 years old, I used to walk quickly through Best Buy or other places and not hold his hand. I did it purposely to be a game, so he can find me and be comfortable. He, in busy, crazy, chaotic LAX, when he was 8 or 9 years old, he already knew how to navigate.
Navigate.
Not afraid by humans or all that chaoticness. And so, and yes, no, I didn't. That's the other thing. You're making them grow up too quickly. No. You don't strip innocence from a child by giving them information and skill sets. In fact, you help them feel more control of their environment.
Yes, I agree with you.
You help them, because my son still, to this day, he's still not even 11 years old, and he'll have his moments. Well, he'll come to me with the energy in which, like, a boy typically would go to a mother. So I've raised him full time, pretty much on my own. I'm his mom and dad, and he'll let himself relax. I see moments when he's with his buddies where I know, like, he wants to act like a dude. But he did hold my hand for a very long time. And I even asked him. I said, "Your buddies are looking at. She just held my hand. Are you okay with that?" He said, "Yeah." I went, "Okay."
He's solid. He's solid.
But there's times where I've seen him get really soft, almost like it's okay to him to move in that feminine and be received. But not to the extent where he's trying to manipulate me. For me to help him out with something he needs to learn. And if anything, he is the most beautiful, sweet, innocent,
sounds like.
Balanced. Yeah, he's a better version of me. Just have my roughness that's taken years.
Years to smooth out the edges, right?
Oh, I'm still work in progress. My girlfriend laughs and chews, said things like, "You're a combination of Bill Burr and Wayne Dyer."
Oh, I love Bill Burr. Wayne Dyer.
Bill Burr and Wayne Dyer.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So, but I think I'm no, not behind closed doors. Do you know he's doing therapy now?
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, he's amazing. I love him. I love the way he talks.
Well, he's going to therapy now. What's funny is, and I love this because he does talk to also a lot of toxic men. He's actually saying, I heard some out there. He's saying, man, like how he was wrong and how his life would have been easier if he started therapy a long time ago. He's basically vouching for his wife that he was wrong. So
publicly.
Yes. Yeah.
That's a man, right? No, that's amazing. I want to make sure that you share some of the things that you got going on and that you're trying to grow and share to the world.
Okay.
Take some time to do that, because this guy is not your average Joe. Look, he's on Solutions with Soul, but this guy is an amazing person. I'm talking about the people that he's worked with. He's already told you some of the people he's worked with. I read his work. I read his work in an era where a lot of people just like to watch a lot of videos. I take time to read his work. So I just want him to share with you guys where you can find some of his stuff, how you can get involved in what he's doing.
Thank you. So first off, if you want to find me, I've had this website for 30 years. It's my name. It's my real last name. It's raydoktor.com. That's RAYDOKTOR.com. That's a great way to find me. I also have a YouTube channel, which I wish my things would. They used to do really well, but I'm now in the algorithms of whatever. I mean, the point is that algorithms try to find like what people see versus stuff with substance. But anyway, I got a lot of stuff. And no, I'm not bitter about that. It's just kind of funny. But YouTube. But I also I'm doing a free relationship life coaching workshop every last Tuesday of the month. So if you do find me and you do send an email, even on my website, there's some information about that. I'm really easy to reach. And if you're looking to have a conversation with me, I do offer a free discovery call, which is 30 minutes long. And we just kind of figure out if you're fit to see what your life would be like if I were to wave a magic wand over that. And then I also have a book on Amazon called All It Takes Is One. Drop your one big hidden belief and master your life. Ooh. All it takes is one. And just look at my name in Amazon. It'll come up. And that was with the people who also produce Chicken for the Soul.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Read that. Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Yeah. So that's the best way. And I'm, of course, Facebook, if you follow me, you'll be able to read what Saul reads also and introduce yourself.
Yes. And I'll make sure to put that all in the caption. And just in general with this whole conversation that we had right here, I know there's a lot of people, because even when I put that one article that you had, but I put it on my Facebook, and then I went to work, and somebody from work read it off of my Facebook and was like, "Thank you for putting it up there." Oh, it was about the trans.
Mm-hmm. That conversation.
Yeah, that conversation about trans. You guys can look it on Facebook. You can find it on my Facebook. But just because we asked questions, and then she was so happy that I was willing to take the chance. It's crazy. It's taking a chance to express how you feel about something.
Even you said one word. Now you just said the word trans. Like, are they anti this, anti that? Like, I know. Just a side story. I worked at the Glendale Memorial Hospital, and I worked with men who were thinking about transitioning. Yeah. So you think I might have some experience?
Yeah. I know.
Okay. All right.
With the people. Before, right?
Yeah. And the thing is, and I said this out loud once before, and I said all of them were suffering with depression.
Yeah.
And so of course, person took that out of context and say, we all transgenders are? I'm like, no, but a lot are.
Yeah, a lot are.
Okay.
My wife says the same thing, and she's a therapist.
Okay. So. And it basically what I shared was that, and the article that I'd written was different.
Yeah.
But it was about what I'm sharing right now was that when working with these men, many of them had substance abuse to help cope with the depression.
Yeah.
And that more than 60% of them opted out.
Yeah.
And where they didn't necessarily want to transition, but it was also more embracing who they were as gay men.
Yeah.
As gay men, that's fine. That's great. You know,
it's
what I mean?
Okay.
Yes, and if you are more feminine in your expressions, because it's really important to understand there's a big difference between your sexual orientation versus your gender, like the way you express yourself. So, for example, back in late 90s or early 2000. I was actually considered metrosexual because I'm a good dresser.
Yeah, I know. I remember that too. They said that about me too, and I had my hair cut with curls.
So even like I was always asked if I was gay because I had a lot of female friends.
Yeah. I was hit on by gay dudes.
Yeah. So it's like and when in the 80s, very similar to Freddie Mercury in the movie where you see him shopping at a women's clothes shop.
Yeah.
I used to go to buy clothes also from women's clothes or vintage place because I couldn't find stuff for men.
Yeah.
I had this kind of David Bowie, Ziggy, Stardust look. Yeah. And so I always been more tapped into my feminine energy as well.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of ignorance out there.
Yeah.
But it's like, but if we could be in a culture where we can dress how we want, we can express ourselves in a more masculine or feminine way.
Even in the moment.
Right? Yeah. But that doesn't have really anything to do with what we're born with.
Yeah.
It doesn't. And we should love what we're born with and make sure.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are not even happy with who they are.
Yeah.
And it's important to recognize, is it because who I am or this thing down here or what I want to change?
Yeah.
And so where I come from is if you could feel authentic and happy with where you are right now and from there make a decision. Great.
Yeah.
Just like women who get breast augmentation.
Yeah.
Many of them regretted that. Many of them removed them because of the toxins that were released in their body.
Yeah.
But I do know this also. Some women have been talked out of it because they went to a therapist. They went to a coach where it's like, oh, I'm just trying to add one more thing to something that's not going to be healed by this.
What are you, an anti-breastist?
It's like, many of us, including myself, have some form of body dysmorphia.
Yeah.
Like even myself, you might go, hey, this guy looks like he's in good shape, but I feel like skinny. I'm having difficulty gaining weight again. But because I know my former self, I was buffer. And so it's like, if we can recognize that we all are part of the collective, we don't feel beautiful enough, attractive enough, buff enough, skinny enough. It's like, let's address that at the core. And then if we want to make changes, go ahead. But permanent changes when you don't know if it's going to work. Oh,
collective consciousness issues.
That could be very, very, very harmful.
Yeah, and they don't talk about those videos too much, do they?
Oh, and they're out. They're coming out. There's a lot of people. There's people out there detransitioning.
Yeah,
so
it's hard.
Now I just shared my view right there.
Yeah. No, that's cool too. It's an open conversation about, and that's why I like having these conversations because I want to have conversations that most people are afraid to have. About life and how we move. And look, I love everybody. I really do. In my life, I used to hang out with a lot of bikers that were super racist. You know what I mean? Because it's just the world that I was in. I mean, I understood. It's hard for me to judge people from it's hard to really hate people because everybody goes through shit.
Yeah.
And you have no idea what makes people capable of doing things. You know what I mean? Because some of the stuff I've done now, when I look back, I was like, wow, I was really lost.
Yes. I
was so lost.
Yes.
But I can't hate myself. I had to get rid of the guilt and shame about that. And that's the biggest part, is holding on to these things that we're guilty and shameful for, and understand that I could be somebody different. I was programmed and, to believe that I was a certain way. All this information.
Listen to this. So you could have been one of those people who was lost, and you made a choice about your body that you cannot reverse.
Yeah,
or
I could have.
Get a tattoo on your face that is a swastika for some fucking weird reason, or whatever. It's like, what?
Yeah, you know what I mean?
So all of us have gone through those rites of passage.
Yeah.
But most people cling to pleasure. And what's unfortunate is that we have particular type of news and information that will gear towards programming because it makes 100%. Profits, or say, this is what's wrong with you, do this. I mean, whether it's you are a they or whatever it is, or take these pills. It's because my experience, none of that stuff actually gets to the root cause.
Yeah, it doesn't.
And that's what my work is about.
Yeah. And I agree with you on that. I agree. I think some people should listen to this guy. I agree, because I took a lot of outside stuff to try to fix what was inside that needed to be adjusted. And when I stopped taking the outside stuff, all of a sudden I could hone in on what's going on inside of me to shift that. And that's what's really important.
I remember actually being one of those people who did, I can't believe I'm saying this, but hey, this is who I am. Actually, what we considered good cocaine in the 80s, it wasn't cut with shit. I bet your face would get numb, whatever. But I remember thinking I had all the answers. I remember that pseudo confidence. And then that's right. It was through cocaine I recognized, holy shit, I'm full of shit. Because I never, the next day.
Literally.
The next day, it was just like, I didn't put anything to action. I forgot everything I said. I'm like, I'm full of shit. This shit just made me feel inflated, and it's my inflated ego.
100%.
So,
then that's and I teach people too, like, you think it's like this chemical cocktail just because there's emotional chemical cocktails that happen in relation with other people that's going on. And then even with, now we have social media. Not only do we have relationships with people right in our presence, but everybody is tapped into this world that is being controlled by whoever has the most money, just like governments and everything else do the same thing. It's nothing different. And you can believe what you want. I say what I want, but we just have to keep that in mind when, like you said, with cocaine. Hey, social media is cocaine. look, Facebook, Instagram, all that, you do the research and they tell you that they purposefully made it to trigger things so that you stay addicted to it.
They want that. They want that dopamine response.
Dopamine response. And then think about when you're getting this dopamine and you're on the screen watching whatever propaganda is being shot at you.
We got to do another conversation. I can tell we can just go another
round.
Well, let's before I leave, let's do it again. Yeah, maybe we'll get some questions, some comments, and from there we can create something else.
Yeah. This you're so awesome.
Thanks, brother.
Everybody, people have been telling me, and I read your stuff, and it's really an honor to have you.
I actually have fans in my here.
Presence. Yeah, you do, and you know what's crazy? Most of them are women. That tell me about you. Yeah. Wow. Even my wife was like, you really need to talk to this man. He's solid.
I have because you remember, I'm only on my own. I'm enough to deal with my own self. Yeah. I don't look for validation, but when you get hit with certain things like negative comments, or I'm walking around as a man and I might get a strange look, it can create a perception that I'm not seen. Well, I know, and I have a beautiful partner and I have a beautiful life, but there is the experience where I'm like, I wonder if I'm really being received out there. So again, that's why I told you about 15 minutes, 17 seconds ago that
wow.
I didn't know that's not adequate.
You're good.
after effects of cocaine. No, it's that I appreciate this because again, this has been a gift to me because that is a feeling I've had since I've been here for 3 years and 5 months of like,
what's going on?
It was different again before 2020 where I would get in real time, hey, thank you, Ray, thank you, just that. Then after 2020, it's like
it changed a lot. It changed a lot.
Yeah.
And you're right, Ashland is a little bit different.
Yeah.
But all right, you guys, we do have to wrap it up, but we could talk forever. Thank you so much for having your time here. I'm going to put all his information to get in contact with him, find all of his stuff that will really nourish you and empower you to not be afraid of being your authentic self, big time. In the descriptions. Thank you so much, and you guys have a wonderful life.
Thank you.